Hey, okay, this is Mutual Aid by Petr Kropotkin. I'm going to discuss some key quotes out of the introduction. They're all written by Petr Kropotkin. It says, "Two aspects of natural life impressed me most during the journeys which I made in my youth in eastern Siberia and northern Manchuria. One of them was the extreme severity of the struggle for existence which most species of animals have to carry on against an inclement nature. The enormous destruction of life which periodically results from natural agencies, and the consequent paucity, which is underpopulation, of life over the vast territories which fell under my observation. And the other was, that even in those few spots where animal life teemed in abundance, I failed to find, although I was eagerly looking for it, failed to find that bitter struggle for the means of existence among animals belonging to the same species, which was considered by most Darwinists, though not always by Darwin himself, as the dominant characteristic of struggle for life and the main factor of evolution." Further, he talks about his experience in Siberia, which he calls Northern Asia. Paucity of life, underpopulation, not overpopulation, being the distinctive. Well, he kind of talks about like during the scarce times when it's like winter and terrible to live there. That actually, yes, it is true that a lot of species do fight amongst themselves because the resources aren't there. But when you have underpopulation, being the distinctive feature of that immense part of the globe, which we named Northern Asia, I conceived since then serious doubts, which subsequent study has only confirmed, as to the reality of that fearful competition for food and life within each species, which was an article of faith with most Darwinists, and consequently, as to the dominant part which this sort of competition was supposed to play in the evolution of new species. On the other hand, whenever I saw animal life in abundance, as for instance on the lakes where scores of species and millions of individuals came together to rear their progeny, in the colonies of rodents, in the migration of birds which took place at that time on a truly American scale along the Ussuri, and especially in a migration of fallow deer, which I witnessed on the Amur, and during which scores of thousands of these intelligent animals came together from an immense territory, flying before the coming deep snow, in order to cross the Amur where it is narrowest. In all these scenes of animal life which passed before my eyes, I saw mutual aid and mutual support carried on to an extent which made me suspect it a feature of the greatest importance for the maintenance of life, the preservation of each species, and further evolution. He says, "And finally I saw among the semi-wild cattle and horses in Transbaikalia, among the wild ruminants everywhere, the squirrels and so on, that when animals have to struggle against scarcity of food in consequence of one of the above-mentioned causes, the whole of that portion of species which is affected by the calamity comes out of the ordeal so much impoverished in vigor and health that no progressive evolution of the species can be based upon such periods of keen competition." And further on, he talks about some books that he had read, and talking about other people's work. And then he talks about the human beings and our concept of mutual aid. He says, "It is not love to my neighbor, whom I often do not know at all, which induces me to seize a pail of water and to rush towards his house when I see it on fire. It is a far wider, even though more vague feeling or instinct of human solidarity and sociability which moves me. So it is with animals. It is not love, and not even sympathy, understood in the proper sense, which induces a herd of ruminants or of horses to form a ring in order to resist an attack of wolves. It's not love which induces wolves to form a pack for hunting. Not love which induces kittens or lambs to play, or a dozen of species of young birds to spend their days together in the autumn. And it is neither love nor personal sympathy which induces many thousand fallow deer scattered over a territory as large as France to form into a score of separate herds, all marching towards a given spot in order to cross there a river. It is a feeling infinitely wider than love or personal sympathy, an instinct that has been slowly developed among animals and men in the course of an extremely long evolution, and which has taught animals and men alike the force they can borrow from the practice of mutual aid and support, and the joys they can find in social life. It says the importance of this distinction will be easily appreciated by the student of animal psychology, and the more so by the student of human ethics. Love, sympathy, and self-sacrifice certainly play an immense part in the progressive development of our moral feelings, but it is not love or even sympathy upon which society is based in mankind. It is the conscience, be it only at the stage of instinct, of human solidarity. It is the unconscious recognition of the force that is borrowed by each man from the practice of mutual aid, of the close dependency of everyone's happiness upon the happiness of all, and of the sense of justice or equity, which brings the individual to consider the rights of every other individual as equal to his own. Upon this broad and necessary foundation, the still higher moral feelings are developed. It says here, this, he now talks about his book, Mutual Aid. It is a book based on the law of mutual aid, viewed at once as one of the chief factors of evolution, not on all factors of evolution and their respective values. He sort of makes the case, and a lot of people who've critiqued this book or who've discussed this book in the past and haven't actually read it will know that, or they make the claim that Kropotkin thinks that mutual aid is the only way that a species will survive, and he says that's not true. That competition between members of a species does exist, but it sometimes exists. The reason why it exists is because of scarcity of resources. But during times of relative abundance, it's actually better for, or it's actually beneficial. Mutual aid is beneficial to the existence of a species. So that's the end of his. When he talks a little bit more about Huxley and Huxley's work in which he decided to write this book as a response to. But that's the end of the introduction. Again, Mutual Aid, A Factor of Evolution by Petr Kropotkin. Originally published in 1902, and this introduction was written in 1914 because he references the war that we're currently going through, which is World War I. All right, well, I'll get started on Chapter 1 and report on that. Thanks. Bye.